Alright, welcome to AquaZen Exotic Aquatics. It's a brand new channel that I just started to go with, my little breeding project that I have going on. I've got several tanks, and hopefully through the process of this, we can make it a little bit easier for people, who are just getting into the hobby. There's a lot of questions, a lot of different stuff that people have to figure out to be successful in the hobby. We've got a lot to talk about here. The common pleco. Let's do a brief species profile just to set the stage here. So these fish are found Argentina, Peru, Brazil, Mexico. They're an invasive species, and these guys basically get to be 24-inch armored and spiked absolute river monsters. Yet they're sold and so readily available in pretty much anywhere you go that sells fish. Go to any of the big box pet stores. We're talking PetSmart, Pet Supplies, Petco, you name it, they're all there. They're sold under the pretense of being an algae eater. So we're here to kind of go over who can keep common plecos, what's the right setup for common plecos. We want to go through it all, and why I think that common plecos should be banned from big box pet stores. Notice I said big box pet stores, not all aquarium shops, not all pet stores. I think that people who have a setup that are equipped to handle such a large, monstrous size fish, I think they already go to exotic fish shops. They have connections elsewhere. They're not getting their fish primarily from a big box pet store. The people who are getting their fish from the big box pet stores are the people that are new to the hobby. They're not going after exotic fish. This all points to maybe amateurs and people who are just getting their toes wet into aquariums and fish. A lot of kids who go to pick out their first fish, they do it at PetSmart. They do it at Petco. And KG Tropicals, he actually has a really good video on this, and this is actually where I got the idea for the video, and really it changed my perspective on plecos. I once was somebody who I didn't really know the basics, and so I only knew the information that I was being told. And we're gonna get to the facts about the plecos, why common plecos should be banned from pet stores. And turns out there's people with similar views on different forums and such, where they were already having discussions about this. And I thought some of them brought up some good points, and some of them were a bit funny, so I wanted to go through a couple here. So the first one here, it says, I know I'm not alone in this opinion, but these are one of the most popular fish that sell in stores. 99% of people buying them don't have a large enough tank, which I think is a 150-gallon minimum. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, if you're gonna keep one of them, I would think a 150-gallon minimum for sure. For a full-grown one, they don't grow the quickest. Really depends on their diet, but yeah, eventually they are gonna get to that 24-inch mark, so you gotta plan for that. He says, stop using fish to clean up your algae that you could just scrub with your hands. Not that commons do much algae eating anyway. There are plenty of smaller, hardier plecos available in the trade. Why do these remain so popular? Ignorance, money, all of the above. So he does bring up some good points here. Common plecos, hate to break it to you guys, but they are not effective algae eaters. He's right. There are a lot more effective and smaller plecos that'll do a lot better job, which this is a whole nother topic in itself, using fish to help with your maintenance. Notice it's help. It's not do all of the maintenance, but there are some things that you can put in your tank that will, help you out a little bit, so you're not doing so much. I have a bottle of algae killer right now, and I've only used it once. That's back when I first started. I haven't used it again because I keep bristlenose plecos. Those plecos stay 6-7 inches, so they can fit in a lot of home aquariums. They love algae. They are amazing algae eaters, and I swear by them every time. I don't even use it anymore. I let the pleco, it's not that should be all of its diet, and it's all good, leave it alone, don't feed it or anything. But if there's a fish that will actually enjoy it, will actually eat it, I see no sense in killing something, you know, that you could use for some food or some nourishment for something else that would enjoy it. And so that's what I use a lot of times. It's never a fix-all, because if you do have algae, that does mean that there's an imbalance somewhere in the water that needs checked. So it's not like you just throw them in there and it's done, but you know, there are some stuff that will benefit from it. So yeah, he's definitely right on that. Again, the 150 gallon minimum, I do think I agree with them. That should be the minimum. I have 3 commons right now and 1 albino. Obviously, they're not going to be spending their entire life in this 75 gallon. I will be setting up a 500 gallon eel pit, and these guys, once they get big enough, they will be going in there. So that'll be cool. That'll be a great video. Another comment here, they say, I don't know if they should be banned, but definitely regulated. But they probably only do well in like 2% of the fish keeping population's tanks, lol. I've seen commons that were being sold that were just an inch long, so it's understandable people would think that they don't get much bigger. That's right. But there are people that work at the pet store that are supposed to be making sure that that fish does not leave the store unless it has a proper home. So yeah, that's not good. That doesn't help that the misinformation is being spread so blatantly like this about them. I think a lot of people, they just don't have the information that they need. They're not getting the proper information from the people who are working in these fish sections. And so they're buying them under the pretense that these guys are basically going to clean the tank. They think that not only do they eat algae, apparently they eat poop and they eat other stuff, which just isn't true. And actually, it's just like KG Tropical said, if you see your common pleco eating poop, that's terrible. It means it's starving. That's the only thing that it can eat. So it's not going to eat that under normal circumstances. It doesn't help that I was looking at PetSmart the other day, and the highest minimum tank size requirement for all their fish was 29 gallons, which is crazy because I've seen they've sold bala sharks, red tail sharks. Yeah, he's right, different type of cichlids. So Fishuga says, I think the cost of commons are cheaper and carry a higher profit margin due to being so available versus other plecos that are better. Because they are, I mean, they're an invasive species. Like even look in Florida, what's been going on down there. I did a pleco video. It's purely factual, all information based, and there was an article on there. It was saying that common plecos were observed actually coming out of drain pipes in parking lots to catch insects. Okay, here we go. So Fish Lore Legend says, well, I've been there. Bought one for a 20 gallon when I was a teen, got it because it looked prehistoric. Went from the 20 to a 30, was in that 30 for years. In my late 20s, I got an 80 discus tank and it went there. Even made it into the 200 and grew to a full foot long. Got to say, it survived everything. Tank broke and I ended up giving it to a friend who put it in a 125 and must have had it for at least 5 more years. So it had to be about 20 years old when it passed. Got to say, I think it had a good life. Yes, they're sold small like many other fish, Oscars, Dempsey, clown, loaches, red tail sharks. People want them, pet stores sell them, everybody says they get too big, return it. Yeah, well that's the other thing. A lot of these people, they'll buy the plecos, they don't know anything about them, and then once they outgrow their 10 gallon goldfish tank, then they just take it to a pet store. Hey, do you want to take it? And sometimes they will. Sometimes they definitely will. Sometimes they won't though, because they won't have room for an unexpected, 14-inch fish or whatever the size it got when it outgrew your tank. I think that they shouldn't be banned, but stores selling them and similar sized fish should be required to give proper housing and care information. At one chain pet store, the fish description tag thing said bala sharks needed 10 gallons and goldfish needed 5. Stuff like that really bothers me. Yeah, same here. These guys actually, they tend to produce more waste than they even pick up because they are bottom dwellers, right? So they are picking up leftover food that your other fish didn't eat. They are picking up stuff. They create more waste than they consume, and so that's the main problem. If you're getting them, don't get them to clean the tank, and really a general rule is don't get any fish to clean the tank for you. Now the bristlenose, like I said, if you are looking for a pleco that's going to help you out a little little bit with your algae. The bristlenose is a fantastic choice. It's going to top out at about 6-7 inches. You can put it in a 20 long, 30, a 40. You know, they're going to fit. They're not going to bother your other fish. And as long as your other fish are peaceful, they're not going to have a problem with them. They're very inconspicuous, stay out of the way. I have several videos of them just absolutely clearing algae. They are so good at it. So I think a great alternative to the common pleco is the bristlenose. It's kind of what people think the common pleco is really the bristlenose. That's sort of the breakdown on the common pleco. They're not what people think. They shouldn't be sold in pet stores where a lot of amateurs are going to get some of their first fish and set up their first tanks. And especially when you have tags at the PetSmart that is saying that you only need 10 gallons for the baller shark. Maybe at that time a 10 gallon would be perfect. If you're getting him and he's 2 inches, 3 inches, you know, at the time when you're at the pet store, 10 gallons absolutely fine. But in 6 months from then or a year from then, well, you know, you might be in trouble. And so these big box pet stores are contributing to fish abuse, and they're making terrible futures for these fish. They either get flushed down the toilet, thrown into a lake, released into the wild, and like we said, they're an invasive species. That doesn't end well. They compete for food, all that. I have a whole factual video, you know, about their species profile and their invasive nature. If you guys want to check that out, it is in the deep dive playlist. You're not a bad person if you own a common pleco. You just need to be aware of these things before you get one so that you have a proper setup and you're not surprised when common plecos do what common plecos do. That's it for now, and we will catch you on the next video.